So that's motivation. What's in your toolbox? This is our general information about WebEx. We are, for these sessions, we use the WebEx Event Center, and this allows us to have the login, your email addresses, so that we can reach back out to you. But the Meeting Center and Training Center are two tools that you would use in your own classes. Within WebEx, Stephanie is our moderator, our host for today. She is the one that will be communicating with you via the chat. Sort of your own personal concierge. She will be watching the chat room, letting me know for any questions or comments that come in. And if you wish to speak, she will be the one to unmute you. And I'll be sharing my content, presenting, and I'll be sharing my screen as well. So this is kind of a basic roadmap for today. We're going to be talking about sharing resources, which, as you've already seen, is the first question on the Padlet. And then we'll be talking about motivation and the intent that within motivation, why we do the things we do. We are going to link out and take a look at some resources that we have found for you, and want you to examine and pull some content from. And my intent is that at the end of this session, we'll start working on a repository of resources for the center, because I feel like there's so much out there, and we have so much that we like to share. So I wanted to get started creating a document, and I'll explain that to you in just a moment. So the first step is to think about your personal go-to resources when you want to add an engagement activity. And so this is question 1 on the Padlet. I'm going to give you a moment to just go in and post some comments on there, and we'll take a look at them. You're probably going to want to have several pages open in your web browser, because I'm going to have you going back and forth between other websites and the Padlet. So I will go in and look at mine. So here's our Padlet, and here's our first. That was right over this way. Our first question has to do with our go-to resources when we want to add something, and I posted in there and indicated that that when I'm wanting to come up with something to engage my students, the first thing I usually think of is Flipgrid, and I use it in all my classes for to bring in the student voice, particularly in online classes. And as you probably have figured out, Padlet is always my first choice, especially for interactive PD sessions, but anything where I want the students to share comments and to think about the things that they are doing. So, all right, and we don't have a name on the one, but random web searches, you're welcome to let Stephanie know, and you can open your mic and comment about it. And a curated list of items. I'm guessing that this might be Lori, and we're going to get to that curated list of items. We're going to get to a couple of curated lists of items. So if we don't get to yours, I'm going to ask you to add it in at the end. Right, I'm going to go back. Yes. Okay, yeah, Stephanie, if you'll make sure that they have the links as we go through. And I'm going to go back into the session, but invite you to continue posting for now on question 1. We'll get to the others in just a few minutes. So again, there's the link there, and Stephanie. You have to cut and paste from the chat. Yeah, Stephanie has posted the link in the chat room. Yeah, what you see on the screen is, yeah, great. and thank you. Thank you for that. So continue to post in there, and we'll come back to that in just a few minutes. So this, the topic that got me started thinking about this was thinking about motivation. And of course, we know that there's extrinsic motivation, which comes from the outside, and it's usually something that that is not necessarily something that is that's not an internal one, but from student perspective, what do I have to do to get my grade? And what we want to think about and talk about is intrinsic motivation and how we can foster that in our students. So it's what really moves our students into effective learning. And I've got a couple of really some good quotes here. Doing something for the enjoyment or the enrichment that we get from taking part in an activity. And this quote from Black is that the levels of intrinsic learning can be measured by degrees of interest, engagement, and exploration. And in my reference list, I've got this article and a couple of others because there has been a great deal of research on these levels. But the thing that comes to most of our minds as we're talking about what we want to do to engage our students what we want to do to motivate our students is the idea of engagement, particularly in an online class. Although this quote from Dewey certainly wasn't referencing online, and yet it certainly addresses online students, that the interest comes from when we're engaged in it, when it's important to us, and it only works to give them a challenge if it's something that they really want to dig deeper into. And it was interesting, some of the information from Judy, that some of the same things we focus on today, not to include an activity for the activity's sake, but for the sake of it being something that applies to what they really want them to learn. And that's from over 100 years ago, and we still talk about it today. So the idea of engagement, and I have some examples to share with you. Thinking about the idea of engagement, these examples come from some ideas from Wiggins and McTighe, Backwards Design, Understanding by Design. And within their context, they refer to the 6 facets of understanding, because we can't use the term understanding unless we have actually provided ourselves with evidence that our students do definitely understand, have understood what they are doing. So the 6 facets that Wiggins and McTighe reference are explanation, interpretation, application, perspective, empathy, and self-knowledge. And what I'd like to share with you are some examples of some students. Now, these are master's students who are practicing teachers, and some examples that they use of different ones of these facets of understanding. One of them said, having students compare and contrast news articles during World War II from around the world, have students recognize different perspectives that different cultures had on the war and how that was being perceived to those living in different countries. And of course, that would pertain to any time in history or in current, having students analyze the news from other countries. Another one that I just thought was incredible is one of the students said that as members of a Spanish club finance through fundraising and implement a multicultural dinner and show. And the show is a talent show that they have auditioned for and put on, and they promote the whole thing. They orchestrate it from start to finish. Talk about an authentic experience. That definitely is there. They get a lot more out of the language and the cultures, and plus have some idea of what something like that puts together. We had one of them reference the idea on fake news and talk about how the students are reluctant to question things that they hear on the news. And she gave us a link to the PBS, to a PBS lesson on determining fake news. And I think Miss Lori from our library also has some ways of applying that. One of them had mentioned, let's see which one I'm going to look at here, having students create a how-to guide for other students for any particular problem in math or a particular process in another content area, and then share those how-to guides and going back and forth, so that if we can teach someone else how to do it, we have pretty well understood it. We have another one that said, during a lesson on the history of the American Industrial Revolution, telling the story of the development of the railroad system, because the process of how the railroad system developed gives a really good overview of the whole process of the Industrial Revolution through the expansion of the railroad system. So those were just some suggestions, some examples that I had seen recently on being able to apply engagement within a course, and we can be fairly certain that an engagement, once they are truly engaged and motivated to accomplish what they need to accomplish, then that's going to affect the learning. Another example that I did not have written down on my notes, but was of having students literally go through the process of figuring out how to finance either a car or an apartment living, and this was for high school students, and having them actually discover that there's a whole lot more to that than meets the eye. Pretty eye-opening. Okay, and so here's my format for the rest of what we're going to do today, and it is my intent to ultimately create a working document that I will be sharing with everyone. So the first step we've already started in on was a list of preferred resources on where what most of us, we have 2 or 3 go-to things. So what those are, because I'm sure there's plenty in there that are going to be unique. So the next step is going to be to visit 3 different websites, given time, at least 2, but hopefully 3, and locate on there 1 or 2 resources from those websites that seem effective, and then go back and post them on the other questions within Padlet. So keep the Padlet tab open as you go to the other ones. And then once we have completed all of this, I will be preparing a document with this information and provide everyone access to that document, and hope you will continue to add to it, because that's the value of that sort of thing. And then I will be looking into seeing if there's a way of getting that posted on the website. So that's where we are headed. So here is your first one. Stephanie is going to post the link in the chat so that you can cut and paste and go into the website. This one is yes.
I wanted to just ask you something. I do have
Sure.
a comment from Ms. Michelin Hilbert.
Okay.
And her question was, how often does this work? Some students are really marking time. They are not willing to put themselves into the work. Can that be fixed, or will we always lose some?
Wow, what a good question. Okay. And again, I feel like something like that is, it would be, the key, I would think, to that would be to try to figure out something that is, that would be engaging for them. And while I'm talking about this, I'm going to let you, Stephanie, if you'll go ahead and post that other link so they can go to that one and be looking that up. And we can talk about this while we're doing that too. And I actually even have a timer, and I'm going to set so that we can take some time and go to that and come back to it.
Perfect. I'll post that.
Yeah. Micheline, that's an excellent question, and a tough call as a teacher, absolutely, because there's nearly always a few people that not so excited about whatever we think was going to be a really effective activity. And so one tip might be to focus the activity on something that is of interest to that student or to more of the students. One of the examples that was on the ones that I was referencing was he had, one of them had used, it was for a statistics class. And we're looking at how sports statistics are created, and had them create some statistics for some of their favorite team members. So that might be a way of getting it to where that they will be more interested in being involved. But yeah, that's a perennial question for teachers. So at this point, you are taking a look at this Zeist website and finding something that you want to pursue a little bit further, and then we'll go back to the Padlet and post it on the Padlet. That I show us with still a minute and 15 seconds before we go back into Padlet. And I'm only doing that so that hopefully we can get to all three of the sites today. All right, time. Hopefully you found something. That's a site that you can't spend 3 minutes on. There's way more there. But I'm going to go back into my screen and take us to the back to the Padlet, and give you the opportunity to post your comments on the Padlet. Yeah, Lori, that's a great comment. Serena was just asking me the same thing, that she knows of some things that are not on that Zeist list, and so that's good to know that she does welcome additions to it.
Actually, it was on your different category.
Oh, was it? Oh, okay.
So I did find it eventually.
All right. It's a very, very comprehensive
Beautiful
list.
Yeah.
Oh, someone who found Unsplash. I love that one. Yes.
Oh, I was trying to.
Yeah. Cool thing about Unsplash is all of the images there are copyright friendly, copyright compliant. Yeah. And Micheline, Kahoot. Yeah. That's always a fun one. The students do enjoy that, and it's a great way to keep them using their phone because they have it with them anyway, and to participate in kind of a fun game show. Okay, and oh yeah, Digo is not one that I put in there, and thank you for reminding me of that. I will add that one to the list, and Debbie, I'm not sure we'll have time to get to another one today. Yeah, Micheline, Classroom Dojo, I've heard several people comment about how effective that is for a classroom. So that's definitely something I will add into our list. And you might want to mention it to, I believe Tracy is her name, to add to that list, because it is also another good one. So great, I'm glad you were finding things, and I'm going to keep track of all this and take us back to my page and go to the next one. And I will be doing it the same way. This one is Merlot, and they have been around for quite some time, and they now are a part of OLC, the Online Learning Consortium. So curated learning, and I know Stephanie's going to post the link for you. Curated learning and support materials and content creation tools. Some very, very effective. That again, another one that you can't look at. You have to take more than 3 minutes, but this is just to get you an introduction to it. So I'm going to start our 3-minute timer. While you all are searching through there, I have a question for Lori, because I know that you use Merlot. Serena was asking if you have to log into that.
Dr. Summers?
Yes.
And Nicole answered over here. She said that you do not have to log in.
Well, and I didn't think so, but I haven't used it a lot lately. I did in getting ready for this, but I didn't think so. Okay, thank you. And thanks, Nicole.
And Judy?
Mm-hmm.
So Laurie did send us a message. She says you can log in, and you can also create an account with them. You can request to be one of their online evaluators of items posted there too.
Oh, excellent. That's good to know. So I will get that information from her and add it to the information that I send out afterwards. Our 3 minutes are up. So I'll take us back and invite you. I know that was not enough time, but invite you to go back into Padlet and post a couple of the things that you found there. Oh, see, I thought I was familiar with the LibGuide. There's one on Merlot. Thank you, Lori. Oh, it's in the OER one. Yes, thank you. Okay, so keep adding your comments on here. I'm going to take us back and give you the next link and invite you to continue to add in both into the Padlet even after the session is over, so that I know some of the things that appeal to you, because I want us to get on, like to get into the third one. And this is one that I use with students, Curriculum 21 by Heidi Hayes Jacobs, and Stephanie will post a link for you to click to. And when you get in there, there's a lot of things you can spend some time exploring in there. To go to the clearinghouse, and then you can sort that by topic to find websites and other information that you want to go into in there. So I'm setting our timer, and that'll give us just enough time to wrap up after we get done. Many of the sites on Curriculum 21 seem to be geared toward the K-12 environment. However, we're all kids, and our students are all kids, so there are plenty of things in there that are applicable for everyone. Okay, thank you, Stephanie, for that reminder. Yes, this is an excellent site. I love the comment about adapting even some of the things for elementary for college-age students who haven't complained about it, which is really cool. Yeah, it is an excellent resource for it, and again, another one that is regularly updated. So I'm going to invite you to continue posting on here. I will check back in with it. And then you can come back in and add your information as we put it. If I figure out how to put it all together into a document. So I'm going to invite Stephanie to open the mics and let you quickly just say something new that you want to add to your own toolbox. And I'm going to put you on the spot, Serena. Would you like to start out since you're in here with me? Something that you'd like to add in?
I was just looking at. Sorry. We had an echo going. Okay.
Yeah.
I just posted a link on digital literacies. Some ways to think about ways of teaching in the past and ways of teaching now and in the future. That was interesting to me. Yeah. Okay, great.
Thank you. Who else would like to speak up? Anybody have something new that you found that you're looking forward to trying out? About what? Yeah. Because I'll share what you're saying.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
about how she used it.
Yeah. Micheline, we've had a question about how you have used Kahoot. Could you share that?
Use Classroom Dojo in the past.
Yeah.
And it helps for elected students that I try to make every student speak during the class, but this way they can answer questions quickly and it's showing more engagement. They're more active.
And what level do you teach, Micheline?
I teach freshman, sophomore level.
Okay, cool. All right. Yeah. A time where they'd prefer not to speak up in class and would absolutely have to.
Yeah, they don't get away with it in my class, but just them having the electronic crutch to hide behind makes them feel more comfortable.
Yep. Yeah, it is. And that's why I love Flipgrid too, because even though it's visual, it's individual. It can be done on their phone, and they're more than willing to step up to the plate and do that. And I love it. I use it usually multiple times in each class. Excellent.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. And I don't know if that's on that curated list. It probably is, but if not, I will share the information about it. And so, speaking of the idea of sharing information, WebEx will send out an automated thank you message, although Stephanie's wonderful about getting my resource list on there, and these websites she'll be putting on there. But what I will be doing probably later on this afternoon is pulling all of this together into a document to send out to you, because fortunately we have your email addresses. So I will send these things out to you and give you access to I'm assuming at this point a Google document that we can all post to and add to as we come across new things. Because I'd like for it to be an evolving, a work in progress, an evolving document for us all to share and to share out to anybody that you would like to include with it. So that is my plan, and once I get that document started, I will send everyone the link to it and invite you all to continue adding to it. Okay, so I believe that we are on track. I have to put one of my favorite travel destinations in here one way or another. So we are on track with finding new things to have our students engaged and being able to reach out and get them involved and the motivation with it. one of the things that I found as I was going through this is a myriad of resources on engagement, and so I think that's probably one that I'll focus on specifically at one of the PD sessions coming up, because there is a great deal of information, including surveys of students about what things particularly, well, face-to-face and online, what involves them in being engaged. So we will send this out to you, and I will invite you to join us next week. We have our library resources again with us, and every time we have the library join us, we have something, there's always something new and exciting. Even though it's not new to them, I always pick up something from anytime I have a conversation with them. So we will have have Christy Padron from the library will be sharing some information for faculty based on services available that are available to them. And then the following week we have Play It Again 10, pedagogy behind peer reviews and brain retrieval, and the intent in allowing students to resubmit. So that's our upcoming attractions, and I thank each one of you for joining us today. It has been a pleasure. This is can be a really fun topic, and there's a lot out there, and most of us don't have the time to dig through it. So being able to use websites like these as a go-to place to start anyway, to start finding things instead of having to do your own grueling online search is excellent. So thank you for taking the time to join us today. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you, Judy.
You are welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone, for attending. Goodbye.